All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something that leaders deal with all the time, but maybe don't talk about enough: this unseen pressure. And this is all coming from a really fascinating master's thesis out of Linnaeus University. It's all about the sheer weight of having to constantly make the call.
So let me ask you something. Just think back on your day so far. How many decisions have you already made? Seriously, from the small stuff like what to wear or what to have for breakfast to the bigger things at work, it just stacks up, doesn't it?
And look, that's something we all go through, right? Life is basically just one long string of choices. But, and this is the key, for people in leadership positions, that constant stream of decisions, it's not just part of the day. It becomes this heavy, really draining burden.
To really understand this, the researchers knew they couldn't just stick to theory. They needed to hear from the people on the ground. They talked to middle managers and captured their personal stories. And these aren't just, dry case studies. They are real, raw human experiences. Just listen to this quote from an operations manager named Abdullah. Wow. It just perfectly captures that gut-wrenching feeling when you make a big decision and it goes sideways. But what actually happened here? What led him to feel this incredible guilt? Okay, so here's the backstory, which is just crucial. Abdullah's team was going through this super intense inspection because of an expired product. The pressure was off the charts. He followed company policy, came down really hard on the employee who messed up. But then, the next day, he finds out that employee was hospitalized because of the stress. And that's when it all came crashing down. The weight of that decision just became unbearable.
And that's the thing. This burden isn't always from a single dramatic moment. It can build up over time. And that's exactly what we see in the next story from an IT consultant named Oliver. His pain is different. It's not about one bad call. It's this chronic feeling that he was letting his team down day after day.
And what happened to him was, well, it was a total perfect storm. His team suddenly blew up in size, right at the same moment he got slammed with one crisis after another. We're talking everything from project deadlines to really serious HR issues like sexual harassment. He just shut down, became emotionally detached. He said he was just trying to survive the week. He knew, deep down, he wasn't being the leader he wanted to be, but he was just drowning.
So these stories are incredibly powerful, but they're not just about stress in a general sense. No, they point to a very specific psychological thing that's going on. So what is it? What is actually happening inside the brains of leaders like Abdullah and Oliver?
Well, there's a name for it: decision fatigue. And the definition is actually pretty simple. The more choices you have to make, the worse you become at making them. Think of it like a muscle. If you keep working it without any rest, it just gets exhausted. And the way it works is almost sneaky in how simple it is. So, step 1, you're just hammered with one decision after another. Step 2, all that choosing just drains your mental battery, your cognitive resources, as they call it. And then step 3, the result, the quality of your choices just tanks.
And this isn't just theoretical. The consequences are so real. When your brain is running on empty, you might make a rash, impulsive choice, kind of like what Abdullah did when he was under all that pressure. Or you could swing the other way and just avoid making a decision altogether. Procrastinate, which, of course, is still a decision, isn't it?
Okay, so we get what decision fatigue is. But why is it especially brutal for middle managers? What is it about their specific role in a company that turns it into this unique kind of pressure cooker?
Well, it really comes down to this massive conflict at the heart of their job. You see, on one hand, they're supposed to be these big picture, strategic leaders, pushing the company's vision forward. But on the other hand, they're stuck in the trenches, dealing with all the daily chaos, fuzzy expectations, and this constant struggle of who am I supposed to be right now? The research uses a metaphor that is just perfect. They are literally sandwiched. They're stuck. They've got the demands from senior leadership pushing down from above and the needs of their teams pulling up from below. And it's so much more than just being busy. The study calls them umbrella carriers because they're always trying to shield their teams from whatever's coming down from the top. They're also karma chameleons, constantly having to switch hats. One minute you're a leader, the next you're a follower. And here's the kicker. They have all this responsibility, but very little actual authority to make the big changes. It's just a classic recipe for burnout. So you hear all that, and you have to wonder if the whole system is basically designed to burn them out. how do these managers even survive? Well, the research looked into that too. They looked at how they cope, and maybe even more importantly, what kind of support they just aren't getting.
And what they found is really telling. When you look at how these leaders cope, you see a clear pattern. Everything they do is personal. It's informal. They're leaning on trusted coworkers. They're using their drive home to decompress. They're creating their own little routines, taking a walk. They are basically left to build their own resilience, all by themselves.
But that's only half the story, because when the researchers looked at what the organization was doing to help, they found a massive gap. We're talking little to no formal support systems. Instead, what they found were unclear roles, processes that actually create more stress, and a real lack of recognition from upper management. And this, right here, is the absolute heart of the problem. The companies are creating the very conditions that lead to burnout, but then they put the entire responsibility for being resilient squarely on the shoulders of the individual manager. It's a complete paradox, and it's totally unsustainable.
So that leaves us with the big critical question, doesn't it? This isn't about just finding tougher leaders. It's about building better, smarter systems. How do we actually build workplaces that support our leaders instead of just exhausting them? What needs to change so that the people in the middle can thrive, not just survive? What does a truly supportive leadership culture even look like?